Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. It's the weekend. Another week, another weekend, another day has come and gone, and we are another step closer to Money in the Bank live in Toronto. And our next step is in Madison Square Garden for SmackDown, as they were in the most famous arena this past Friday. And we're going to talk all about it. Not a whole lot happened in this show, at least the duration and quantity of this show. But from the opening segment and closing segment, Paul Heyman, the Bloodline, best believe a lot happened in those segments. And we're going to dive all into that. Qualifying matches. A lot of people have qualified for this Money in the Bank ladder match. We're going to talk all about that throughout this show. And yeah, man, and have some fun as always, man. So, of course, if you guys are listening, of course, you see the banner down below. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you follow us on social media. That is TikTok and Instagram. Both are Ruthless_Talk. That is our social media. So, of course, check us out on social media. We make tremendous content over there. Always, of course, hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe button down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're so close to 200 subscribers. I believe we're on the cusp of under around 12 subscribers. We're at 188 subscribers. So make sure y'all spread the word and subscribe to us on YouTube. And of course, hit that notification button and all of that fun stuff. Now let's get into the show. So we do have a big announcement in regards to next week's Money in the Bank review. And we have special guests in order. We have a big, huge show for you guys for that show starting. It'll legit be a week from today around that time frame as Money in the Bank. We also got NXT Heatwave as well. We'll talk maybe a little bit about NXT Heatwave, in the near future. But our big announcement is that your boy's not going to be a part of this pay-per-view review. This is legit the first time I'm not even going to be even on this platform, as my man Brian is going to be hosting
solo.
Well,
show. Not solo, but I'll have a couple guests with me.
Yep. He's got some guests along with him. He is going to be hosting the show as your boy is going to be out of the country. I am heading to Ireland, spending some good quality time with my family and my loved ones. It's been a minute since I've taken a trip anywhere. I've been pretty much grinding here in the States, doing this and other stuff. If you follow me on social media personally, you know what I'm talking about. So Brian will be holding down the fort and be giving y'all a review on Money in the Bank and all of that fun stuff. So make sure you guys check it out, man. So if you still want more of Brian Thomas, you're going to get more of him over the next several weeks. So make sure y'all stay tuned for it. Brian Thomas, my man, will be hosting Ruthless Talk and will be giving you a PLE review for Money in the Bank live in Toronto. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. So, but today, of course, it's all about SmackDown. Like I mentioned, so lots of stuff to cover in Madison Square Garden, which they were located this past Friday. However, I need to start off with some fireworks, and this may be the most riled up and amplified that, at least not in the most positive of light, because there is a lot of good stuff that did happen on SmackDown that I definitely want to acknowledge, as well as I'm sure you do, Brian. But I have to mention Fox and this fucking network and how this company, WWE Suits and Ties, can't get off this fucking network fast enough. Because, guys, if you guys know, over the last several weeks and months, ever since SmackDown has been on Fox, they've been on Fox now for over the course, I want to say 4 years now, since their first deal started somewhere around in 2019. And Brian, I'm watching this show this past Friday, right? I'm not able to watch a lot of shows live. SmackDown is at least one of those shows to where I can watch live. And for weeks upon months on end, Fox just has one fucking thumb or finger on the mute button and the other is on the black screen button, because the amount of black screens and the amount of mute buttons that were hit this past freaking Friday is fucking appalling to me. And it's unbelievable how that, yes, Triple H has spoken about censorship and uncensorship, and I'm sure Fox, took that to a certain degree. We already know that Fox and WWE are going to be parting ways once their deal is up somewhere around in September and October. But my fucking God, man, this was absolute sabotage at its fucking finest. I mean, you want to talk about just absolutely just appalling, just unwatchable is what Fox made SmackDown this past Friday. It is just utter ridiculous. It is just disrespectful. It ruins the flow of the show. People are trying to watch a certain segment. And Brian, this is not even like a quick, freaking 1 or 2 seconds to where freaking a wardrobe malfunction and the network has to kind of like cut off the screen for 1 to 2 seconds. This is for several segments, and it lasts over 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds that the black screen is shown on your screen on TV on Fox. And this is in the middle of promo segments, and the opening segment, and the most important detail of all was the closing segment. The last minute of this show, as it goes off the air, you see nothing but a fucking black screen, dude. And
really?
I can yeah, seriously, you have, and we'll go over, of course, the closing segment, later on in the show, but that's all you see, dude. You see Fox just hitting the fucking black screen button, and that's all you see as SmackDown goes off the air. It is absolutely pathetic. I can't. It's just ridiculous, man. I've never seen utter sabotage in my life. They're not even trying to hide it, because this is not just a one thing like, this can't happen again. Maybe it's a little mishap on the network's end. Maybe a button was pushed accidentally or whatever, right? But this is not the case. This is segment after segment or every other segment. And I'm just like, what in the fuck are we doing, man? You got to come up with a better way, right? Like Bianca Belair, for example, she's coming down the ring, or Nia Jax was coming down the ring. There's that altercation at the rampway, black screen, right? Tyrese Halliburton from the Indiana Pacers.
What was the reason?
That was because I guess something was in regards to a fan, maybe a kid that held up the middle finger that they saw in the background. But my problem is, Brian, is that, okay, you can't come up with a better alternative that it doesn't ruin the flow of the show, that you have to black the screen out for 5, 10 plus seconds. And you do this every single promo segment, important details of a segment or whatever is part of the show, and it's blacked out for people watching at home. Now, for people, overseas, they don't have this freaking issue, but people in the States, it's flat out ridiculous. And I feel bad for Triple H, Paul Levesque, as they already mentioned about sharing their frustrations about this entire situation. I don't fucking blame them, because how can you run a successful show when you're trying to still gain viewership, right? Going to the USA Network to say, hey, if you want to see more SmackDown, we're going to be on the USA Network. But Fox said, nope, fuck that. Let's hit that mute button. Let's hit that black screen button and complete utter sabotage within this company. It's fucking appalling, man. And listen, you got to come up with at least a better way to where it doesn't ruin the flow, it doesn't ruin the segment, and it doesn't make the show unwatchable. Because that's where at times, Brian, this show was completely unwatchable because of Fox and just whatever the fuck their mindset was in regards to censoring stuff out or whatever the case may be. It is befuddling. Tyrese Halliburton comes down the rampway, a member of the Indiana Pacers. He has Logan Paul. Logan Paul invited him out to the ring, and the screen cuts off everything, guys. They cut out everything because the crowd chanted, "Logan sucks," or "You suck, Logan." Come on, man. Are you fucking kidding me? It's right, and then again, right. and the cherry on top is the closing segment, to where Paul Heyman gets sent through the announce table. You had a couple of FU solo Sokoa chants or solo chants, and then they just censor everything. They black out everything. If you want to mute the screen or mute the volume, fine. But to freaking cut out everything, the screen, everything, is fucking appalling. It is obnoxious, it's unwatchable, and it's fucking unacceptable. Fox, fuck you. That's all I'm going to say. It's just fuck you. Brian, your thoughts about any of this? Because I know you didn't watch it live, but your
Yeah, I
thoughts.
feel you. Yeah, so yeah, for viewers that might not know, like I never watch SmackDown live because I don't have the Fox app, and so I'm always watching the clips. But yeah, that would drive me up the fucking wall, man. I had no idea that was going on, like I said, because I never watch it live. But
Right.
even when I go like search, on the internet, and I think I've told you, when I'm looking for clips, like sometimes you'll find clips where it's like, oh, here's a full recap of SmackDown. It's like 30 minutes long or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And but you watch it and it cuts off like right in the middle of a promo. It'll jump ahead like 5 seconds or whatever. And yeah, it's fucking irritating. So yeah, to be in the middle of a great segment or whatever and to have the screen go black, I mean, goddamn, talk about a buzzkill, but and just little things like that too, where like like you had mentioned the Bianca and Nia, they're brawling and like maybe some kids holding the finger up in the background. I mean, the way I view things like that is like, bro, your cameraman is focused on these two women brawling, like they're going to be moving, so the camera's going to be following them. It's like it's silly things like that where like if people just kind of let it go for a second, nobody even fucking notices. Like
Mhm.
it reminds me of back in the day, probably the most famous one, Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl, right? The nip slip, like and shit. I remember watching it live. I didn't even see it happen. Like that's how like quick and like you never even really saw it until people were like, oh, well, fuck, if you pause it here, it's right there. Well, yeah, but if it's going in real time, man, it's just going by and nobody fucking notices. And goddamn, man. But so, yeah, no, I feel you, man. That would irritate the shit out of me. Like, I've been waiting for SmackDown to come to USA so I can watch it live. But
Mhm.
yeah, that sucks, man. Especially in the middle of a really good segment, bro. That's just
Yeah, or at
it
least like
just kills
you
the
want
momentum.
to. Right. It kills
Yeah,
exactly, right. It kills the momentum and it ruins the flow of the show when
yeah.
even if it's not like at its peak of like captivating you or intriguing you, you're still like, all right, let this play out and see where this goes. Well, you can't
Mhm.
fucking do that when all you see is a black screen for several seconds. It's
Yeah.
just like, and the thing, it's like, there's probably some dipshit back there named freaking, I don't know, and they're probably like, oh shit, here comes Tiffany Stratton. She's got a fat ass. Yeah, let's black out that ass. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously, freaking, like, honest to God. Oh, is that a kid picking his nose? Oh, is that the middle finger? Yep, black it out. Freaking, freaking Victor, freaking, Mike. Yeah, hit the black screen button. Come on, man. It's. I
Right.
mean, bro, I have never seen that many blackouts and mute buttons in a show, and I've seen this for weeks and months. To where it's been an issue, and it's been an issue for a while, but it is never was at the extent than it was this past Friday. I mean, they're not
Gotcha.
even like Brian. They're not even trying to hide it to sabotage the company to say "f you" to Triple H. Like it's like they're it's clear as fucking day, because if this was just like, again, an accident or two to where the screen went black for maybe more than it should have, and it was only once throughout the show, then that's one thing. I'm like, all right, maybe a mistake happened. We can't let it happen again. But this can't be. You got to come up with a better way, man, that it doesn't ruin the show, man. And I get it for Fox's perspective. Listen, I get it. You want SmackDown, you want nothing to do with professional wrestling, and that's totally fine. Then that could be the case, but you're still a part of this deal. Your deal doesn't expire or end until September and October. Like, to complete utter sabotage, to sabotage the show, to sabotage the company like that, to where it's clear as fucking day, is just, it's appalling, it's ridiculous, and it's unacceptable, man. Like, that was fucking ridiculous on what I watched this past Friday. It's unbelievable. It's I feel bad for the talent. Again, I feel bad for Triple H. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, Fox, like, what are we fucking doing, man? SmackDown, as of late, their ratings have been a roller coaster. They haven't been to your liking, and you have every right to say, to look at this deal and say, oh, our deal's coming to an end. Your ratings are not where we want them. Sorry, we got to cut ties. That's fine. But to legit do what they did, Brian, this past Friday
Yeah.
is fucking ridiculous. I can't emphasize that enough. Fox, fuck you. Fuck the network. I can't wait till this show gets off the damn network, because this is absolutely ridiculous, and it's doing nothing but hurt the product and sabotage the product and hurt these segments, the flow, everything. It's fucking ridiculous. So
Yeah.
and that's it. So again, thank God, but again, we have to also deal with this for the next 3 to 4 freaking months, and I'm just like, God damn it. It's unbelievable. Like, dude, it is unbelievable. Like, it's, again, I have no words at this point. I've been stuttering throughout this entire cold open. That's just how frustrated and appalled I am in regards to all of this. But so yeah. So if you're overseas, if you're outside of the United States, then you enjoyed this show from top to bottom, because they don't have that issue. If you watch this show live at Madison Square Garden, you enjoyed everything from top to bottom. But from everyone in this country, in the States, that had to deal with that freaking shit, then oh my God, man, I feel for everybody that had to feel what I felt watching the show, which was just embarrassing. Just seeing a black screen and a muted freaking show, the entire show, every other segment at least. So it's ridiculous, man. Fox, just do fucking better, man. You got 3 to 4 months. At least come up with some type of alternative, because that shit can't happen. It can't happen anymore. So we'll see. I mean, WWE's already expressed their frustration. Maybe there'll be a conversation. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I guess we'll soon find out. So that's it. That's probably the most I'll be amplified is right there, because again, there's a lot of good stuff to get to in that was SmackDown, at least what we were able to freaking watch on SmackDown. Again, if you were watching this through your television screen. But let's start off with, and we'll get, of course, into the Bloodline. We'll get into Paul Heyman and that whole spiel. We'll get into that later. But let's start off with the qualifying matches. There were 3 qualifying matches from this show. First was, of course, all triple threat matches, of course, because, we just love triple threat qualifying matches, throwing wrestler A, B, and C, and just throwing them in a qualifying match. But what the fuck do I know? But so first qualifying match was you had Tiffany Stratton, Tiffy time, Jade Cargill versus Candice LeRae. Again, like I mentioned, you had Nia Jax come out to down the rampway, of course, in the corner of Tiffany Stratton, as they've been kind of buddy as of late. Bianca Belair came down to the ring, so there was an altercation there. Jade Cargill was thrown into the ring post by Indy Hartwell, of course, coming to the aid of Candice LeRae. It did no avail, as Tiffany Stratton was able to counter Candice's finishing maneuver and ended up hitting the prettiest moonsault ever, which it is the prettiest fucking moonsault ever. She hits it flush, goes for the cover, and Tiffany Stratton wins this match, as Tiffany is going to Toronto, Canada for Money in the Bank. Obviously the right call. Love this call. Hopefully we now start to actually get Tiffy time. We haven't gotten Tiffy time really since this whole, situation on social media with Jade Cargill and this whole, utter deal that's been going on. You guys know what I'm talking about. And ever since then, the momentum has kind of derailed with Tiffany Stratton, but she got this W, and which is the right call. Again, her shtick and everything. I've been saying it since day one. It just fits that persona, that character. But now Chelsea Green is also in this match. So now there's kind of like a mixed bag. Do you give this to Tiffany? Because on one end, a lot of people are saying, oh, she doesn't really need it. Give it to maybe Chelsea. You could still do fun, creative things with Chelsea. I'm kind of on the fence with it with Tiffany or Chelsea.
I don't think Chelsea should. Yeah. Mm-mm.
I mean, you would think now with Tiffany Stratton in this match, I don't know how likely it is now with Chelsea Green winning this thing. I mean, we weren't so sure about
I was
Tiffany
never
Stratton.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. And so Tiffany Stratton, honestly, I mean, when it comes to selecting a certain character for this Money in the Bank ladder match and knowing what character just fits so well in whatever character is in this match, it's Tiffany and it's Chelsea. Those are the big 2 options there in regards to it. As everyone else, so far, you've got Lyra Valkyria. I don't really see her winning it. I think it's just to continue to kind of showcase her still being very new to the main roster and such. But we'll see in regards to it. And we'll mention another female talent that was added into this match as well. But Brian, before we get to these other qualifying matches, man, your thoughts in regards to Tiffany winning this qualifying match over Jade and Candice LeRae.
Yeah, I saw that coming, and yeah, you're right. Right call on that one. I love the partner, the little partnership that's developing between Tiffany and Nia. I really do like that. And yeah, going into the Money in the Bank now, I mean, it seems like all, whatever. What was it, the last pay-per-view or whatever, where Tiffany was kind of taken out of the match? It seems like she got like a slap on the wrist. And then, like, hey,
the king of the ring, or the queen of the ring.
Queen of the ring. Yeah. But so now I firmly believe she's winning Money in the Bank, and I hope so.
As
of the people I think that I know of in there right now, I would say that's the right call too. And because I think with Money in the Bank, and we've had this discussion, like you bring up Candice LeRae or somebody like that. Or not Candice LeRae. Freaking damn it! Why can't I think of her name now?
Indy Hartwell, you talking about?
No. Chelsea Green.
Chelsea. Okay, yeah.
So, like, while if she won it, yeah, there'd be some like entertaining shit that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you're doing a character change with her, there's no way she's cashing in and winning. It's not like a viable option. Whereas Tiffany. Yeah, she I expect her when she does cash in, she's probably gonna win.
Yeah.
So yeah, right call in the match. I do love the Nia Jax and Tiffany angle right now, and yeah, I think she's a clear favorite for Money in the Bank. I think.
Yeah, no, I'm sure she's definitely a fan favorite. I know for a fact. I mean, I know some people who were at MSG this past Friday, and it was loud when when the final count was made and won the match. That building was loud as shit. You couldn't really tell from watching it, of course, at home.
It was blacked out. They cheered too loud.
You would think, yeah. It's like, the crowd. The crowd is too loud. Mike,
decibel levels.
That cleavage is too freaking big. Yeah, let's block that out. That ass is too fat. That's a fat ass. Freaking.
I mean, look, beautiful woman.
So, but no, it was not. At least in that regard, it wasn't blacked out. But it got loud. Like the crowd was loud. Like at least if you were in attendance in MSG, it was definitely loud for sure. Because and with Chelsea Green too. Because I even mentioned it of how like. If she were to win this, like, how would you do that to like make it make sense for her character?
Yeah.
And even if she did win it, like, would you truly believe because of how she's kind of been portrayed as kind of just been like the comedy act and kind of the joking type of character, like the Karen type of character that's not really supposed to be taken that seriously. And you're going to put a world title on her. Well, then now moving forward, you kind of have to kind of maybe not go into a 180, but kind of slightly make that sort of change in that.
Oh,
regard.
Yeah. There'd have to be some major kind of character change with her. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But with Tiffany, like, she's already, maybe again, her booking has been inconsistent, but she's more portrayed of that serious in-ring performer. And again, she's well liked in this wrestling community. It just makes the most sense. Again, the character, the stuff that you can do with Tiffany in this briefcase to tell really good, intriguing segments and stories, man, and to get Tiffany Stratton back on that same pedestal, the same pedestal that she was at going into Australia for Elimination Chamber, as well as in freaking France for Backlash, and then that momentum was just kind of just derailed after that. The one thing I will say about this match before I do move on was Jade Cargill. Obviously, I knew she wasn't going to win the match, nor should she, and she wasn't obviously going to take the pin. So, yeah, you can say she was protected, but the fact that she was thrown into the ring post and that little throw from the ring post by Indy Hartwell for several minutes, she was just done. So, I don't know. Like that taking out Jade Cargill for several minutes to where you don't see her
Yeah.
for the last several minutes of the match. I don't really know how that's protecting her. So again, it's not the the worst thing in the world, but I would have done a lot more to protect Jade in that manner, if that makes sense. So, but Tiffany Stratton winning is the right call. I said, like, from the jump going into this match, I'm like, if Tiffany Stratton does not win this fucking match, then I don't know how she's going to recover from it. Whether if it was Candice or Jade, like, I don't know how you can now continue to derail Tiffany at this point and to get her back on that same pedestal. But thank God they pulled the trigger. And maybe we start to really get Tiffany time and gain that momentum again like we once did. And, she keeps that momentum rolling. We'll soon find out about that. So major shout out to Tiffany Stratton. You guys know how much I love that gal. So really good stuff. And of course, the right call was made. The next qualifying match you had for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. This was LA Knight. Yeah. You had your United States champion Logan Paul against Santos Escobar. Tyrese Halliburton. That's right. Indiana Pacers Tyrese Halliburton was in the corner of Logan Paul. So, of course, Logan Paul being the heel, they're in New York, the Knicks and the Pacers. They just had a playoff series not too long ago.
Right.
So, Knick fans, it's a big basketball town. So, which was funny. You had my man Jalen Brunson. Shout out to all my New York Knicks fans. It was actually, as the Knicks fan in me was like, oh shoot, this is pretty dope. So it was pretty cool to see Jalen Brunson at least watching at ringside or in the front row, which was pretty cool. As there was like altercations between Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. So of course this was mainly for the New York crowd to kind of hype up the crowd because of how much they love Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks. As they're looking good too, by the way. But that's a different discussion for a different day, for next season. But yeah, so I mean, of course, as the Knicks fan, I freaking love that. And there was like altercation where Tyrese Halliburton would grab those brass knuckles that was ordered by Logan Paul from one of his associates at ringside. And then Jalen Brunson jumps the barricade. He's like, nah, freaking, we ain't gonna let this fly. As there was like this little altercation there. I think there was some suits and ties and officials try to escort Jalen Brunson away from for ringside or on the ring floor. Santos Escobar tried to gain advantage of it. LA Knight hits a BFT. Logan Paul tries to take advantage with a roll up, and then LA Knight counters it with another roll up, the tights and all. Like, I'm talking like 2, 3, maybe 3 arms if freaking LA Knight has 3 arms, and rolls up Logan Paul with the tights and picks up the W. And then of course there was another altercation to where Tyrese Halliburton came into the ring with the brass knucks, and then Jalen Brunson came back into ringside, entered the ring with the chair beside LA Knight. And then both Logan Paul and Tyrese Halliburton said, check you later, as they walked up the rampway. So yeah. My thoughts is this. I mean, look, again, as a Knicks fan, I'm loving Jalen Brunson and being in this ring. Now, don't do any any actual physical altercation, because we need this motherfucker for this coming season. So don't do that, please. At least that's me as the fan in me. But on one end, it's fine. Of course, you go back to like WCW with like Dennis Rodman and the Chicago Bulls and Karl Malone. Yeah, you gotta go back to those days. So which is pretty cool. So that's kind of like little reminisce there. And of course, as a Knicks fan, I enjoyed every second of that. So of course, being biased, but if you're someone that doesn't really follow NBA or whatever and didn't really think much of it or didn't really get any intrigue of it, I hear you from there. Now this match itself. LA Knight winning the match, I'm totally fine with. I don't think he's going to win the match. I think this is kind of just going to further along the feud with Logan Paul and this potential United States title. Even if he were to win this Money in the Bank briefcase, dare I say, Brian, it's maybe too late, to where I think the true moment, if you were going to give LA Knight the ball, was last year. And I've been stating this for a year now, to where you can't, the moments that you could have gotten, you can't get back. And LA Knight winning that briefcase in that moment last year was just the moment to do such. To where, yeah, he still is a very popular babyface. He's still a very popular talent. Fans still cheer him. Fans still love him. But that momentum that LA Knight carried into that said match, with when he was white hot, all the momentum in the world, and for WWE to not pull the trigger, that's just what's derailing, and you're not going to get that moment back, man. So I don't know if this is Triple H saying like, oh, hey, we still care about LA Knight. He's not just a mid-carder. He's going after a briefcase for a chance for a title shot. So I honestly thought maybe Logan Paul was going to win this match. I thought maybe it was going to be vice versa, to where, Logan Paul, because he does a lot more of, the flippy doos and the dives and all the cool power maneuvers. So I was expecting Logan Paul to win this match, but they didn't. They have LA Knight win this match. So, and the other thing is too, Brian, and I'll get to your thoughts in 2 seconds here. I don't know how much I truly like the idea of already putting Logan Paul and LA Knight together in the same ring when we already know that they're going to be in a match one-on-one. Like, why not just save that animosity and that intrigue when they are in the ring together for SummerSlam? So I didn't really understand that aspect of having this match, because when it was announced last week, I was like why Logan Paul and why LA Knight in the same ring? It just doesn't make sense. So, and Logan Paul takes the pin, which is also very interesting. So he pins the champion, Brian. WWE does this all the time. You pin the champion, you get a freaking title match, right? So this is like, oh, this is to add the story. Like, hey, I pinned you, so now I get my United States title match or whatever. I'm guessing Logan Paul is going to somewhat cost LA Knight this briefcase in Toronto. Yep. And the thing is, too, it's just like, okay, so Drew McIntyre is also probably going to be in this Money in the Bank ladder match. There's going to be several other entities and characters with outside storylines. The last thing I also want to, Brian, for this Money in the Bank ladder match is just that we have this cluster of people costing other talents matches, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool for Punk and Drew, right? And now you're going to also do that with LA Knight and Logan. I just think that's just too much, to where there's already so much going on with other storylines and other characters. I don't want that to be a cluster to where one interference outweighs the other, and it doesn't really do much for that, But Brian, what are your thoughts, man, about LA Knight punching his ticket to Money in the Bank, bro? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a right call to him winning, but I mean, yeah, the way I see this playing out now, because you're right, it could, like, why they were in the ring together, it kind of confused me too, because initially I was like, wait a minute, aren't they having the title match at Money in the Bank? And I was like, I forgot it was at SummerSlam.
Right.
So yeah, that's the for sure what's going to happen is Paul's going to cost LA Knight somehow, some way at Money in the Bank, and now I think that sets up better for LA Knight in SummerSlam, that I think he is going to beat Logan Paul.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think how that's going to be how all that plays out. But yeah, well, I mean, you're right into where LA Knight, if he was going to win it, it should have been last year.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
If he won it this year, I don't. I mean, there's nothing there. You'd have to start from scratch again with some. There's like nothing there with any of the current champions, or like, it just. Yeah, that would try to be just like going back to fix your mistake, but yeah, I figure Logan's gonna cost him Money in the Bank, and then LA Knight will get his comeuppance at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully, I mean, if the move is to have LA Knight win this title, which again could happen, but then you go back and remember it's in Cleveland, Ohio. So are they really going to have Logan Paul lose in his hometown? So who knows at this point? It's kind of up in the air. I wouldn't be shocked if they do have Logan Paul retain the title, because deep down, I just don't know how high this company is in LA Knight, because again, like you mentioned, if you were going to give him the ball, it was last year with the briefcase. And if they weren't going to do it then, I highly doubt that they're going to do it now. But who knows? We'll see. I mean, WWE makes decisions right before the show starts, last second calls are made. So who knows in regards to it and with that. But like I said, with the whole Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton thing, pretty cool stuff. Again, as a fan, of course, being biased as a Knicks fan, freaking loved it. Just don't have him just do any physical altercation, because we need this motherfucker for next season. Yeah, I guess we'll see that. I guess if Logan Paul is going to cost him this title, again, I just don't want this to be like a cluster of like people costing other talents in this match the briefcase. I just think that would kind of
Yeah.
be slightly redundant and kind of just slightly overplayed. I'm like, all right, you got Punk costing Drew, and then you got Logan costing LA Knight. You got this person costing that person. So I guess it depends on how they do it too, to where it's not like the same type of costing them the title sort of thing. But I guess we'll find out, see what they have planned for this said ladder match. And then the next qualifier, you had another triple threat for the women, which was Indy Hartwell, Blair Davenport, and Naomi. And of course, Naomi won this match. Jade Cargill did get involved after what transpired in her match, throwing Indy Hartwell into the ring post. So that takes Indy Hartwell out of the equation. And then Naomi ends up picking up the W, pinning Blair Davenport. It's the least that they can do for Naomi. She's going to be the highlight reel, right? And she's going to do all these crazy maneuvers and everything. You know, this is at least like, hey, listen, we're not going to, you know, you've been here for 15 years, Naomi, and we've given you 2 title reigns. We haven't given you shit, but here, we'll throw you a bone. We'll place you in this ladder match. Have fun. And then we'll call when we have something for you after that, you know?
Think about where that woman started in this company, man. She was a goddamn funkadactyl. Like, seriously.
Right.
Like, and now she's here. And I think she should be higher than she is, but I mean, shout out to Naomi, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, shout out to her. That, I mean, I've said it for the longest time. Like, again, you know, not to make this a Charlotte Flair thing, but like, you know, she has the same athleticism as a Charlotte Flair, but yet
she's got more. I think she's got more athleticism.
Oh yeah, just as more, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And yet Charlotte Flair has 14 titles to
14.
Naomi's 2 in the last 15 years. Like, who are we fucking fooling, man? Come on, dude.
Yeah.
You know, Naomi is awesome, but yet this company just doesn't think otherwise. Or doesn't think this to the same degree. So yeah, it's frustrating. She's going to be in the same boat as like an Andrade. Andrade's just there to, you know, put all the big spots and the ladder spots and this and this and that, and go back to Speed, you know, defending the Speed Championship. So
and that's what's unfortunate with Naomi. Like she's gonna get the spots of like, yeah, you'll be in the Money in the Bank match and you'll have big moments and you'll have like an important entrance in the Royal Rumble and you'll get that, but you're never really gonna get I don't know, man. That's frustrating, but
yeah. And one last thing, and we'll get into this final topic here, both the opening and closing segment of SmackDown. You know, so it seems like that Bianca and Jade, they're, I guess, on the verge of maybe doing a potential feud together now that they've lost these titles, and now they're trying to get back to the title picture. And the issue that I have, Brian, is now we're going to do what? Because Indy Hartwell cost Jade the match, and now Jade costs Indy Hartwell the match. So are we going to have another said tag between Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae when Jade and Bianca has beaten these two several freaking times as a tag team and as tag champions, and now we're just going to once again replay this same fucking shtick until maybe they get back in the title picture. They maybe get a said rematch, and that's when things finally start to escalate. But at that point, who's going to fucking care of how you're maybe prolonging this said feud if they are going that route? It's just like, it's Bianca and it's Jade, and the best that you have is Candice and Indy Hartwell. No shade to these people. Seriously, they're great human beings, and we want the best for both of them. But like, come on, man. We've seen this song and dance before. There's nothing to see that we haven't already seen between these two teams, and it's just like, it's just the easy way out to say, all right, let's gain their momentum back to the title picture. Let's throw, who do we have in this title division? Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Just fucking throw them out there. So yeah, that's another unfortunate thing, honestly, too. Is that with Jade. So who knows?
But I do think and maybe even best for Jade and WWE is that maybe the first singles feud that Jade does have is with Bianca. Right. Just as for the protection purposes, for the because we see all this and we see the the athleticism and the talent that is possibly there, but it does really seem like Bianca has, and I'm sure many others, but Bianca being her tag team partner, I think giving her a chance to like learn Bianca in the ring and how she moves and learn from Bianca in the ring. I think that is the best case scenario for solo feud for Jade coming out of this tag team is with Bianca.
Oh
Just
yeah,
to protect her, to make her look good. Yeah.
yeah. No, absolutely. And hopefully, and with Jade too, it's like I hope that lot of times the more I'm kind of watching her too, and listen, she's gonna pick this thing up as she goes along. I'm still seeing a confidence issue in Jade to where,
Yeah.
especially in her promos and how she's trying to stand out, to where she obviously maybe doesn't have that much freedom compared to when she was in AEW in regards to, and maybe that changes now because we talked about this whole uncensored stuff going on with Netflix, but yet
Yeah.
SmackDown's going to go over to the USA Network, so I don't know how much they could truly, allow on the USA Network when SmackDown goes to USA Network, and she's going to be on the SmackDown brand. But I'm just seeing a confidence issue right now with Jade in these promo segments, like she's backstage with Bianca, and she just comes off very like not awkward,
Stiff.
but like
It's like stiff.
Yeah, very stiff in her delivery and everything. It's compared to what I saw before, like towards the end of her run in AEW as the TBS champion. Like it's two different people, and I'm confident. Well, I'm holding out hope at least that she's gonna get it, and she'll gain more confidence as she goes. She gets used to the regimen and the routine of what WWE and what talents and them want to do. But I've just noticed that for a while, to where I definitely want her confidence to start to gain, because when Jade is full of confidence and and you feel it oozing out of the TV screen, that's where Jade Cargill can become a really valuable asset
monster.
For
like you
legit,
talk about Rhea right now, like
uh-huh.
if you look at just the current women's division, right? If Jade could or does reach her full potential, and I'm talking years down the road here,
Yeah.
but we look at Rhea Ripley now as like, I mean, just she's like really one of the most, since maybe a China, one of the most dominant female wrestlers. Like Cargill could blow that out of the water.
Absolutely.
Like if she reaches her potential. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she already has the look. She already has a lot of assets, in comparison to a China. Absolutely. And I don't know if it has anything to do with she's right now playing the babyface role and it's just not coming as natural as she's been wanting it to, probably because, as a heel, she was getting that shit down pat in AEW. And now as a babyface, maybe it's just taking her a while to maybe kind of gel into that. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm going to definitely keep my eye on Jade Cargill and if she can progress, and or at least how long this progression, or, if it continues to progress, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I just wish that we would be doing better for Jade and Bianca to get to that said feud, because right now it's not it. Like Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, another match, but it's just not it to gain any interest, because once you get to that match, Brian, I say the same thing about Gunther and Dragunov. The way Dragunov's been booked, and now you just want to throw a Gunther and a Dragunov match. Like, who is truly going to care, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
But we'll see in regards to it. So, but let's not waste any more time. Let's get into our final topic, the final shebang in this show in SmackDown, as we'll go over both separately. We'll go over both the opening segment and then we'll finish it off with the closing segment, as both, of course, kind of tie in together. So the opening of the show was the Bloodline. They're arriving to the arena. Paul Heyman, of course, is waiting for them in the parking lot. Everybody comes out of the ring, minus a Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu does not exit out of the limousine, or I believe it was maybe like an RV or whatever the fuck they were driving to the arena or something. But so they all come out of the car, and Paul Heyman is questioning Solo, like, where's Jacob Fatu? And Solo doesn't really give him an answer. He just gives him like a little pat on the chest or the shoulder. And they do that long camera shot to the ring through Gorilla and everything as Solo's music hits. And shortly as they come out, the camera panders back to the parking lot, and you have Cody, you have Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens arrive to the arena. And they start brawling at the rampway. They exit through, they come into the arena, they come through the stage, and everybody starts brawling. I mean, Triple H in his booking, his MO, it's all about brawling and chaos, right? So it started right from the top of the show. The Bloodline, of course, retreating up the rampway. And then they cut a promo segment, or Cody Rhodes cut a promo. Of course, they also have a 6-man matchup at Money in the Bank. I believe it's Cody, Orton, KO against the Bloodline. I'm not sure if Solo's involved or who or which members are going to be in this. I would say it's Jacob, Fatu, and maybe Tongaloa and Tama
Tonga squared.
Tonga Square. I got a saying about that later, but
I'm not sure if it's Solo or Jacob. That's going to be the third one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we shall see in regards to it. In regards to that, but so Kevin Owens says a few words. Orton says a few words. Of course, trying to at least gain some hype and some intrigue for this 6-man tag. Like, hey, they're coming for him or whatever. They're going to beat their ass at Money in the Bank, right? And then Cody Rhodes kind of cuts a promo saying that he doesn't see a boss or a tribal chief. He just sees a seat filler, laying that big line, that mic drop to the crowd. And then you had Nick Aldis calling NYPD to escort all 3 of these dudes out of the arena. And that's what they did, as they kind of oblige both Cody, Orton, and KO. They're just like, all right, we'll oblige. We'll do what you say, as they kind of walked them or escorted them out of the ring to kind of start the show. So before we get to the closing segment, I'll let you get your thoughts in, Brian, about this opening segment. Man, your thoughts about the chaos that was ensued to start the show between the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, Orton, and Kevin Owens.
No, I mean, I like it. I watched again clips of it. I mean, segment's entertaining. And it's really not even the Bloodline. It's just the KO Orton Cody thing. Like it just, like we've been here so many times already. Like, I know it's going to be good, and it's going to be an awesome match, and maybe some surprise shit will happen there. Who knows? But just the whole narrative still, like, I mean, I know Roman's not back and Jimmy's not back yet, and all that stuff, but I feel like we gotta start shifting the narrative to just be Bloodline versus Bloodline, rather than have Cody and KO and Orton and whoever else, AJ Styles, whoever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my only drawback to it, but it's going to be a hell of a match. And who knows, maybe this is kind of the end of it, and maybe we get into more Bloodline versus Bloodline here going forward. Right?
Yeah. And no, you're absolutely right, because at this point, because you would think that something is bound to happen in this 6-man tag, like
right,
possibly Orton turning on Cody, and we can finally get an Orton-Cody feud. Because listen, much love to Cody, right? By the way, happy birthday to the American Nightmare himself. Today's his birthday.
Right,
he just turned 39 years old. So much love to him, and we love Cody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far, man, like his title reign, people ask me, like, what do you think of Cody Rhodes' title reign? And I'm like, it's not bad, but it's not really that good either. It's kind of just been in the middle. He's had some decent matchups with Styles and with Logan Paul, but even the matchup with Styles, we even talked about it in the pay-per-view review. The ending was just very odd. It was very kind of ended kind of flat. So it hasn't really been the best, but what can really kickstart this before Cody maybe does face The Rock later on this calendar year, because we have a feeling that's going to happen. Like The Rock is going to come back, as he stated that when he comes back, he's going to be looking for Cody. So that matchup is probably going to happen for the most part. So I just hope that they just don't drag this out until that moment happens. And what could really justify that is a feud with Orton, and the story and the history that you can tell. So hopefully that's
I'm waiting for that.
because
They have to do that. They gotta have this feud.
And when else can you do this feud? Because Orton's not getting any younger, he's not getting any healthier. So this is honestly the best time to truly do it. And you would think the Bloodline has to win this match, and that's why I'm like, there has to be some type of shocking turn or something, because I mean, you can't have this new form of the Bloodline that just was added by Jacob Fatu. And I'm going to speak more about this faction later, but you would think they're going to win this match, and to kickstart Cody in another feud, like you said, Brian, to kind of just keep this kind of Bloodline related, like this actual civil war that's going on here,
right,
can finally start now, from the starting middle of the summer till War Games, possibly in the fall in November. So there's that. But here's what I'll say about the segment itself. There's one thing that I can't stand about Triple H and his booking, and that's redundancy. And one of those redundancy type of shticks that he likes to do is nonstop brawling, right? What's one way that we can create chaos and maybe a little bit of intrigue? Just have everybody brawl. But the one thing I will say, though, Brian, is that I did like how they let this breathe in a way, to where there was multiple segments through this, the interference, right? The brawling itself up the rampway. You had NYPD try to escort all three members out of the ring. I think Cody Rhodes hit like a crossroads, and then Orton hit an RKO, and then Owens hit a stunner to several of these officials and these security guards. So, and then of course they laid down the promo segment, and then they escorted them out of the arena, and then they showed that backstage. Caleb Braxton's trying to get some words from Nick Aldis as all three members are getting escorted out of the building. So they let this breathe. Right. It's not just like a brawling segment that just leads to a nonsensical match that nobody gives a fuck about for later on in the night or for next week. They at least let this breathe to really make this somewhat memorable, instead of just a random brawl segment that just people completely forget about over the next week or two. Right. So I at least appreciate that in regards to the segment alone. But yeah, like you said, Brian, at some point, the 6-man tag is going to be the 6-man tag. But what's going to truly up that is that you would think something has got to happen, like something within this match that costs Cody, Orton, and KO the match, and the Bloodline have to win this match. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. They have to win this match. Yeah. Now with Jacob Fatu being inserted into this, like, they have to.
I mean, who's beating Jacob Fatu? God damn, that dude. Oh my God. I mean, we'll get into it, but like, holy shit, the things he can do, man.
He definitely adds a lot more substance and intrigue into this faction, for sure. At least adds a different sort of vibe to the faction, which is he's now the new enforcer, to Solo's faction. Now he's proclaiming himself as the tribal chief. But let's get into this closing segment. So you had the rest of the Bloodline. This was an acknowledgement ceremony, as you had all members of the Bloodline. Still no Jacob Fatu yet. Paul Heyman is in the ring. And then Solo Sikoa, he calls Jacob Fatu out to the ring with his new entrance and everything. So they definitely let that drag out and soak in the entrance and stuff. So I like that. We come back from commercial, and Solo wants each of the members of the Bloodline to acknowledge him. You had Tama Tonga, you had Tongaloa, then you had Jacob Fatu, all acknowledge Solo Sikoa. And then it came down to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is a wreck. He hasn't shaved. His hair is gray and in a mess. He looks like he hasn't slept in a day or two. Like, the weightless. Can I appreciate Paul Heyman? Seriously, let's. Unbelievable.
Like, I'm telling you, man, if you would like take this whole Bloodline story in the last 4 years of him, man, fucking submit this shit to the Oscar committee or whatever. This man deserves a goddamn Oscar, man. He is fucking fantastic,
dude. Absolutely unbelievable.
He is the best ever. Like, I thought, like, really, even until very recently, I thought nobody could really top Bobby Heenan. Paul Heyman has done it, man. Like, hands down. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude. Can't express enough how much I appreciate Paul Heyman, right?
Yes.
Acknowledging Paul Heyman, and
Right.
how freaking good this guy is, and how over the last several weeks, right? And, with this new Bloodline faction, yeah, and I'll get to it in just a second as I got more to say about it. But what's really been keeping this afloat and like the intrigue of this faction, this new faction, has been Paul Heyman with Roman
Yes.
and The Rock on the shelf. It's been
Yep.
Paul Heyman. It's clear as day, and he's just so freaking damn good, and just the way he showcased himself, his mannerisms. Again, he, like, his bloodshot eyes, his freaking
Oh
grays are
man,
showing in his beard. It's so good, man.
it was so
It's
good.
so, dude, it's awesome. It really is, man. It's like, it's the little things like that, man, that you appreciate
Yeah.
about the dude. It's every minor detail of throughout a story. Like, Paul Heyman is like, he's been out the door with this whole shtick with Solo, and you see the look on his face, again, the bloodshot eyes and everything. It's
Yeah, I
so
mean, he looks like he's
fucking good.
just that close for, a nervous breakdown, man.
For
Absolutely.
real. Exactly. Exactly. So much love to Paul Heyman. Can't
Yeah.
emphasize that enough. So Solo, he walks up to Paul Heyman, and he goes up and he brings out the tribal lay, like the necklace. And Paul Heyman is like in distraught. He's like, "Where did you get this? This is
Yeah.
Roman's. What are you doing?" And he's like, his face and everything. And then Solo's like, "I want you to acknowledge me as your tribal chief," holding up the tribal lay. And he wants it to put it around his neck to present it to him, of course, being the wise man. And frickin' Paul Heyman, he's like, he knows the decision he's about to make, and he knows what's about to, what his future is about to ensue, but he's taking, or at least soaking it in, and like, all right, if this is what I got to do, then fuck it, this is what I got to do. And he says, "I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief." And Madison Square Garden fucking pops
Oh yeah.
galore. And then Solo Sikoa, he slowly rises up his head. And Paul Heyman knew his fate. You saw the look on his face. He knew what was about to go down. Wham! Samoa spike to the throat. All members of the bloodline can just beat the living shit out of this dude. Jacob Fatu hits a flying headbutt from the top rope. And then they go to ringside and they do the Shield power bomb. Solo didn't do it. It was all other three members of the bloodline. It was Jacob Fatu, Tongaloa,
Right.
and Tama Tonga. But of course, Solo's directing orders. They hit the triple power bomb onto Heyman. Heyman took that like the fucking legend that he is, bro. Oh
I
my
know he feels
God.
that shit today, man. I know he
Oh,
does.
dude,
Oh
yeah,
my
I
god.
know he does. Oh, absolutely. But dude, he was like, "Listen, Fox, you want to black out screens and hit the mute button? Well, fuck you. Here's this shit, right? Freaking, here's at least something to get people captivated and to remember by." Was him doing that freaking that spiel, that segment. So he gets laid out through the table. All the members of the bloodline throw up the ones with the tribal A around Solo's neck, but Fox being Fox, they fucking black it out. They black out the volume. They black out the screen. It comes back on, but then a second or two later, that's when SmackDown goes off the air. So Fox, they completely hijack the show throughout the show, and as well as the ending segment of the show, which once again pisses me off because, again, you're trying to gain viewership. You're trying to gain fans to watch the next week, and you do this in the most important segments of the show. And I get it. There was FU Solo chants. I get it. But you gotta come up with a better alternative that's not going to ruin the product and sabotage the fucking show.
Like, I don't know how, like, I can't count how many times, whether it be like whatever I've watched, anything, where like, and I don't know how long of a delay they're on or whatever, but like, say the crowd is chanting "fuck you, Solo." There's been countless times where I know I've heard things where like it's okay, they can beep out the fuck, and then you'll hear "you Solo." So it's just that little beat, "you Solo," and
that's
then
what I'm saying. Like, it's this utter sabotage that Fox did this past Friday. Like, you seriously, as a network, as a billion-dollar conglomerate network that makes millions upon millions of dollars with all of these partnerships and deals with other companies and such, and you can't come up with an alternative to at least, throw a bone at least to this company to not sabotage and to not ruin the segment and the show. Come on,
Right.
man. That's fucking bullshit. There ain't no fucking way. So yeah, listen, outside of that, because I said enough of it at the start of the show. Love the segment. Absolutely love the segment. Cool little introduction to Jacob Fatu and his entrance. I have to listen to
Oh,
his
that was a
theme song
badass
again.
entrance. Yeah,
At
his
least
entrance.
the visual was pretty good. I gotta go back and listen to the song itself because I know with Def Rebel and everything, I'm on the fence with Def Rebel. Honestly, there's a handful of good songs like freaking
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley's is decent. Obviously, Roman Reigns. I mean, shoot, the freaking Head of the Table theme song is decent. There's a handful of decent ones, but we've spoken about theme songs and Def Rebel like Bailey's and others are just so very generic. But at least maybe Jacob
Right.
Fatu, the presentation looks good, but I have to go back and listen
Yeah.
to the actual song itself in regards to it. But yeah, Paul Heyman getting laid out was freaking badass and everything. And that's the thing about this faction too, right? That I want to state. And Brian, I'll let you get your thoughts. I'll try to make this quick to get your thoughts in here. The one thing about this faction that it needs more of, right? They need more legit heat, and they also need a lot more individualization because the last thing that I just want this faction to be, Brian, is just a bunch of Samoans in a faction, right? You have Jacob Fatu, right? Like, there's Jacob Fatu who at least stands out above Tonga, like you said, Tonga squared. You got Tonga Loa and you got Tama Tonga. But like, I want this faction to not just be idolized as just Samoans. And then you have the higher characters in The Rock and Roman Reigns and others. Like Evolution, for example. Evolution, like you see the individualization for each member, like Ric Flair, Triple H, who of course were already been made, but also for the younger dudes at the time, like Batista and Randy Orton. All of the different personalities and individuals in that group stood out. With a lot of these factions as of late, there's just not enough heat to where, yeah, we like them and they respect them and there's potential, but where's the legit heat coming from? But that segment this past Friday with Paul Heyman and how much the crowd was behind him saying, "You're not my tribal chief," and how freaking loud that pop was, that could somewhat get you heat. You heard the FU solo chants, that could at least give you some sort of heat because that's what factions nowadays just don't have a lot of. And that's true heel heat to where it's not like get off my television screen, but like I want to see you get beat up so bad, like somebody beat the shit out of this dude type of heat. And you don't see that a lot from a lot of these factions, even to a certain degree, like the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio himself has good heel heat with the amount of booze he gets, but collectively the Judgment Day as a whole, their heel heat hasn't really been that stoic, right? The Bloodline, the original Bloodline, like with Roman and the Usos, to a certain degree, maybe got that because all they did was just they hold up titles, they hold up all the gold, so you want to hate them. So yeah, I hope that we continue to find ways to give this faction heat, and B, we create more individualization within this faction, right? Like I don't want this to just be about, Roman, The Rock, and Solo and Paul Heyman, like the bigger names in this story, right? Use this to also maybe up the ante and create a connection for somebody like a Tonga Loa or a Tama Tonga, even a Jacob Fatu. There's still not a lot of people that know a lot about Jacob Fatu. I don't want them to just be their individualization, to just be that they're Samoan and they just beat up everybody. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
What are your thoughts about that, Brian? Like both the closing segment and everything. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, excellent closing segment, man. I mean, Paul Heyman, what Jesus. I mean, he's a legend, man. There's not much else you can say about him. I mean, he made that segment. He's kind of made this Bloodline story over the last month or so.
Yeah.
His commitment to everything, and it was just awesome. And I would have to say that since they've made that step now, I would have to say Roman can't be too far away from coming back, and maybe even an appearance from The Rock. Because now, I mean, maybe Paul Heyman misses the next episode of SmackDown, maybe doesn't, who knows? But now that this has gone down, like something, just Roman's got to be coming back fairly soon.
Mm-hmm. Right now, it's still the SmackDown before SummerSlam. That's been the projected date for Roman Reigns to come back before
that's right.
SummerSlam. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now I got bigger questions of like, or not bigger questions, but like, so you got the faction now with Tangaloa, Tamatanga, Jacob Fatu, and Solo. And we assume or think maybe even The Rock is behind all of that. So if you put The Rock over there with them, I'm sort like those 5 people, against Roman and I guess maybe the Usos, and I don't even know who else at this point, but like
Zilla Fatu, which is Umaga's son, I guess.
yeah, maybe
And then,
that,
but
but I
then,
mean,
you have another 5th person to try to fill that. I don't know. So who knows?
but either way, like that's where I'm just wondering, like how, because I'm wondering if somebody even in the new Bloodline faction is going to turn on Solo. Is right? You know what I'm saying? Because I just don't see how, like, right now, and in my eyes, like the current Bloodline now, and assuming Rock is with them, they're head and shoulders above Roman and the Usos. Like, as far as you had Jacob Fatu in there. I mean, damn. So that's where I wonder, like, how all this is going to play out with, like, because like you said, yeah, Rock is going to, or at least he stated he's coming after Cody when he comes back. But he still has the Bloodline stuff. Solo and Roman are going to be at odds. And it's just, I don't know, like one side is stacked right now and the other side's looking pretty weak. So I don't know how that's gonna like level out, and that's my intrigue to it. But
yeah,
either way, man,
unless they want to book Jacob Fatu and they kind of want him to be the bigger entity, at least outside of what they're what they're trying to do with Solo. I've been very skeptical about how they've gotten Solo to this point.
Well,
I've
that's
mentioned
like I even mean now, like if you want to, like, and I can't put The Rock in it so much because he is older and we know he's not really going to be full time.
Yeah.
But if right now, like if you put, like, we're gonna have like the 2 heads of a faction or a match, I would want to see more. It's Jacob Fatu and Roman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
those are the 2. So yeah, I just wonder how that's gonna play out.
Play out, right? Yeah, unless, like I said, you mentioned a Jacob Fatu turn. I mean, unless they want to make him more of the standout of this new bloodline, to where when he
Yeah.
turns and he aligns with Roman, and then once this whole bloodline civil war is done, does he become more of an entity of himself, to where maybe, like you said, Jacob Fatu and Roman in the future? There's still a lot of stuff that you can do once this whole shtick with Roman and The Rock is done. And again, maybe again, there's
But even
probably
there,
maybe another family member that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head that could be added into this whole shtick for War Games. So who knows? But I mean, it
yeah, but
seems like
you
when
can,
Paul Heyman returns, it's going to be Paul Heyman is going to return with Roman, and Roman's going to get
yeah,
his own spotlight because they want the spotlight to be on him. I don't think this is going to be to where, oh, like maybe like The Rock comes back and then Roman comes back. Roman's probably going to return before The Rock. But they want Roman Reigns' return to be solely about him and not trying to let maybe a Jimmy Uso return kind of, outshine that to a degree. But yeah,
yeah.
Brian, continue.
No, I mean, they're just within this family alone, man. I mean, there's so many avenues that eventually you can go down to where, like, I mean, the Usos in a tag against Tangaloa and Tamatanga.
Yes.
Roman against Jacob Fatu, Fatu against Solo. Rock and Roman. There's so many, like, it's just never ending, man. And it's all good. They are all, different ones have different, like Jacob Fatu. I look at him. I haven't heard him much on the mic, and I know he's not. He's probably not one of those guys that's going to cut a 5-minute promo either.
Oh no,
But
no. No.
what he can do in the ring, man, like at that size, I mean, just holy shit.
And
It's
it's not
another
even
level.
that. And it's yeah, no, absolutely, but it's not even that. It's just like his mannerisms and how he
Right, the
carries
presentation
himself.
of yeah,
A
absolutely.
presentation of himself. He'll probably, like you said, he's not going to be a guy that's going to cut like 5 minute essay or cut 5 minute
Yeah,
promos and essays, but he'll be that guy to where he'll maybe cut maybe less than a 60-second
yeah, 30,
promo or
60
something,
seconds. Yep.
couple of lines, right? Especially I guess now being for now the enforcer.
Right.
So to where, but I think Jacob Fatu, because of how he stands out and his mannerisms, might have a lot more to offer on the stick than maybe we realized for it. Again, maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like you said,
absolutely.
a lengthy promo, but definitely I think that there's a lot of, you know, persona and a lot of it factor in Jacob Fatu than maybe a lot of people don't pretty much know about.
Mhm.
So we'll see in regards to it. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of options and a lot of ways that you can go about who's involved in Roman's team, and does somebody
Yeah.
on Solo Sikoa's side turn on him and jump over to Roman Reigns' side to fight off of Solo and his bloodline. So, and of course, like the story that you tell with the Usos and Roman, because like you're not just gonna
Yeah,
just
there's
gel
still a
them
story
back
there.
together.
Right,
You
right.
got to tell a story of how they bond back together. So it's not that so it's wondering how they play along with that. It's like when Jay eventually is going to link up again with Roman, because that's Jay Uso's long-term longevity, is being a part of this civil war. So
Mhm.
like there's still going to be hostility with Jay and
Jay and
Roman and maybe
Jimmy.
Jimmy, and yeah, Jay and Jimmy too. And then like there's going to be a lot of hostility between those two. So yeah, so like there's gonna be it's gonna be one of those things like what's I'm looking for? Like the Shield, when the Shield reunited for the final time, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of like hostility between at least between Dean and Seth, and Roman Reigns, coming back from his battle from cancer, and they wanted to join or rejoin the Shield one last time. So it's maybe that type of hostility there, but it's also Roman Reigns being involved with people like with Jay, maybe not so much with Jimmy, as they were kind of still, I guess, at the hip when Jay officially left and was going on his
Yeah.
own. So, but yeah, like the hostility and the story between there and how that unsuits. Maybe Zilla Fatu is maybe that, I guess, comes in and tries to be this some sort of peacemaker with all the cousins involved. And maybe that's how they form this bond that's really strong, to where like, all right, if we're going to take down Solo, if we're going to take down, we got to stick together, blah, 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 blah. We got to, go back to, what we used to be, as tight as ever when they were freaking, what was that segment? Freaking smearing freaking dog food all over freaking Baron Corbin's face, right? When they were actually like, like buddies and stuff. And even shoot back
Right.
during their shtick with the actual bloodline itself, when they were
Mhm.
tight as a unit and they were beating up everybody and they were taking over the company. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that you can tell there. So we'll see, man. But man, freaking shout out to Paul Heyman, man, because he is what's kept this afloat. And it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting now. How does this faction, Solo's faction, this new bloodline, continuing to gain heat? Because that's what this faction and a lot of faction nowadays need more of, is legit heat. Because if you don't have that, then there's no reason for a heel faction to be doing what it's doing if they're not gaining any type of hostility towards the fans, of wanting to see them lose or get their ass kicked. So, but we shall
I
see in
would say
regards to
this
it.
is the time for them to step up to do that too, because I mean, we
Yeah,
assume Heyman's going to be off TV at least for a little bit. You wouldn't assume they're
yeah,
just going to bring him back next Friday like nothing
right.
happened.
You're still
So
not going to see.
without Heyman
Yeah.
there selling it, like yeah, it's on you guys now. Like
Yeah, and
yeah,
like Roman's not going to be there for at least another couple of weeks. The Rock is
yeah,
still not going to be there till later on, probably this calendar year. So yeah, it's now on Solo and this faction to really kind of carry, and that's what I'm slightly concerned about,
sure.
especially with this whole, and maybe they do something with the 6-man tag for or a week from today, from this coming Saturday in Money in the Bank for the 6-man tag, to where they continue to look dominant. They're winning matches. They're doing what they need to do, but they're gaining heat in the process. So we'll see. I mean, I'll give them a chance to see what they do, to see if they can gain this momentum, because the last thing I want this faction to do is for this faction to kind of just be to gain, well, what's the word I'm looking for? To, again, not gain any heat, to where when Roman Reigns and The Rock come back, that moment to where when Roman comes back and tries to get his revenge on Solo and everyone else, it's that much more special because of all the work that Solo and Jacob Fatu have done when he's not there. So, but we'll see. I'll give them a chance. But outside of that, the segment this past Friday was tremendous, outside of the blacking the screen. Again, Fox, fuck you. But yeah, man, really good stuff all around. Madison Square Garden was pretty amplified from Tiffany Stratton winning her qualifying match. Of course, that, when Paul Heyman laid out the words, I acknowledge you're not my tribal chief, and how loud that got. So yeah, I mean, we shall see in regards to it. So, but really decent show, decent, dare I say, honestly, pretty darn solid. And we'll see how this carries on toward Money in the Bank next week. And yeah, good stuff, good stuff, and a lot of stuff to be hopeful about. So we shall see, moving forward, where all of this plays out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Once again, next week is Money in the Bank, and I will not be a part of the Money in the Bank review. Brian Thomas, my co-host, will be hosting the show, and he's got some special guests along with him. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And of course, I'll keep you guys posted and updated on the situation of when I will be back, as I'll be gone out of the country for about a week. Going to try and find some time to watch Money in the Bank and still to try to keep up with wrestling. And of course, I'm sure I'll be having a lot to say in regards to that when I do come back. But yeah, man, this is a lot of good stuff to come. We still have SummerSlam, our roundtable coming up. Of course, SummerSlam itself, the big pay-per-view review that we have coming up. A lot of special guests still in the works to be a part of the show. So stay tuned for it, man. Again, make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok on social media. That is Ruthless_Talk. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get us to 200 subscribers. Subscribe, stay notified, hit that follow button, smash all the like buttons, and we appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for more content to come. Brian, final thoughts, if any, before we end the show.
Shout out to Paul Heyman, and let's kick this Bloodline story into high gear, man.
Let's do it, man. Let's freaking do it, man. Let's see what this has in store, and we're going to be along for the ride. That's going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off, saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys.
Out.
Carry on.